You know, floods are one of the most destructive forces out there, but what if we could actually see them coming days before they hit? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're going to look at how AI is taking simple weather data and turning it into life-saving alerts for millions of people all over the world.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we've got to understand just how big of a problem we're talking about with flooding worldwide. Then, we'll jump into Google's AI solution and, peek under the hood to see how the tech actually works. After that, we'll connect the dots. How does a prediction turn into an alert on someone's phone? And to wrap it all up, we'll look at what's next for this amazing technology.
Okay, so before we dive into the cool tech, we really need to get a handle on the problem itself. Because, let's be clear, flooding isn't just a local issue. We're talking about a full-blown global crisis. And this isn't, just about a couple of bad storms here and there. We're talking about thousands of fatalities every single year, millions of people forced from their homes. It's this relentless, heartbreaking cycle that has a massive human and financial cost, and it always seems to hit the most vulnerable communities the hardest.
So you look at this huge, ongoing challenge, and you think, where do you even start? Well, for the team at Google, the answer was pretty clear. You start with the predictive power of AI. And this quote, it really nails the core idea. This isn't just about tech predicting a disaster. It's about empowering people. It's about giving them the one resource that's more valuable than anything else in a crisis, time. Enough time to actually do something, to prepare, to get to safety. It's the difference between being a victim and being a survivor.
What this really does is bridge a massive information gap. Think about it. For the longest time, the best forecasting tools were only available to wealthy countries. So by focusing on these at-risk communities, this AI is essentially democratizing safety. It's putting life-saving information right into the hands of the people who've never had it before, but who've always needed it the most.
Okay, so now for the fun part. How does this thing actually work? Let's pop the hood, look inside the black box, and see what makes this incredible prediction engine tick.
All right, so the first piece of the puzzle is what's called the Hydrologic Model, but let's just call it the river forecaster. It's pretty straightforward. Its one job is to look at all this public data, weather reports, rainfall stats, you name it, and predict one simple thing: how much water is going to be flowing down a specific river.
Okay, so once the river forecaster knows how much water is coming, it hands that info over to the next model. This is the Inundation Model, or as I like to call it, the map maker. It takes that river forecast and combines it with super detailed satellite maps of the terrain. Its job is to figure out exactly where all that water is going to go. We're talking street-level, house-level detail, even predicting how deep the water will be.
So, you see? It's this brilliant, simple two-step dance. Step 1, figure out how much water is coming. Step 2, figure out where it's going. By splitting the problem like this, the AI can be incredibly accurate, way more accurate than anything we've had before on this kind of global scale.
Now here's the really clever part, the thing that makes this whole system possible. It runs on data that's already publicly available. We're not talking about some secret, proprietary information. It's just public weather forecasts, satellite images that anyone can access, river gauge data, and because it uses open-source data, it can be deployed literally anywhere on Earth, especially in places that don't have a bunch of expensive, fancy sensors on the ground.
Okay, but let's be real. A perfect prediction is totally useless if it just sits on a server somewhere, right? The whole point is getting that information to the people who need it. So the next critical piece is turning all this high-tech data into a simple, clear alert that anyone can understand and, more importantly, act on.
And I want you to understand, this is not some small pilot program. This system is live right now in over 80 countries. It's covering huge river basins in Africa, Asia, South America. I mean, the scale here is just massive. It's truly global.
So what does over 80 countries actually mean in human terms? It means that right now, 460 million people live in areas covered by these forecasts. Just let that sink in. That's nearly 500 million people who now have access to warnings that could, no exaggeration, save everything they have.
And think about the difference this makes. For so many people, the first sign of a flood is seeing the water rush into their street. By then, it's too late. This system can send an alert up to 7 days before a flood hits. That's not just a warning, it's a lifeline. It's a whole week to prepare, to get help, for governments to get their act together. It's a complete game changer. So where does all this information live? It's all centralized in a tool called the Flood Hub. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a central place that's free, it's public,
And anyone can go there, whether you're an aid worker, a government official, or just someone worried about their home, and see these incredibly detailed flood maps and forecasts for your area, all laid out nice and clear.
And this, for me, is where the rubber really meets the road. These alerts aren't buried in some government report. They pop up right where you'll see them, on your phone, through Google Search, on Google Maps, as an Android notification. It meets people where they already are, using the tools they use every single day. So, where is all this heading? What does it mean for the future? Because it's important to see this not just as a small improvement, but as a massive leap forward in how we deal with disasters.
And to really get how big of a deal this is, you have to compare it to what we had before. The old gold standard was a system called GLOFASS. And for a long time, it was the best we had. But when you put this new AI model next to it, well, there's just no contest. The AI is way more accurate, way more detailed. It's basically setting a whole new standard for what we can even expect from flood forecasting. And the end game here, it's huge. The goal is to keep expanding the system until every single community on Earth that's at risk from river floods is covered. Think about that. The job isn't done until everyone everywhere has access to these life-saving warnings.
And that leaves us with a really powerful thought to end on, right? We've seen that AI can predict where the water will go. So, what's next? Could we use the same idea for wildfires? For droughts? I mean, the same basic principle, using global data to predict what's going to happen locally, could completely change how we prepare for all kinds of disasters. We might just be at the very beginning of a whole new era of staying one step ahead of a changing planet.